Good morning, Cornerstone, and Happy New Year. It is great to be here with you all. It is great to see you all. Got to make the requisite dad joke. There are a lot of you that I haven't seen since last year, but I'm excited to see you this year, No, but it's interesting when you think about the new year. There are lots of different traditions and things that go on. One of them that we do is an end-of-year, start-of-year prayer chain. And so for all of you that had a chance to participate in that, thank you. I had just several enriching times. I took 3 different slots, and every time I'm done praying, I feel like I should have signed up for a 2-hour slot. Because there's so much to thank God for. There are so many people to pray for. There are so many needs going on in our communities, in our families, in the world. And I just had a remarkable time praying for you all, praying for my family, the community, the church. And so that was really awesome. Some other people have the holiday tradition of traveling, as you can see, and some people are gone. But one of the things that, for me, has never really been a kind of a big thing, I'd say, is this whole idea of, after the clock turned, singing that song they sing in New York or whatever it is. And, to be honest, for most of my life, the new year just has never been a big deal. It's kind of like, okay, we went around the sun again as a planet. That's awesome. But more than anything, it's kind of just cool to have some time off from work and to be with family. But the idea of, hey, we're turning the page and this is going to be something new and shiny and all that, it never really resonated with me. But I can honestly say these last 2 Decembers, really, it was a big deal. When people will say, man, I'm so glad we made it. Again, I always thought that was just kind of a trivial, almost silly thing to say. But I feel like, again, the last 2 years, and particularly this past year, it really does mean something. Whether you think about out in the grand scheme of things, and Hank Aaron or DMX passed away this year, John Madden, Betty White. I know, right? Like, I thought Betty White was going to live forever. I mean, I assumed she would outlive me, right? But I imagine they're having a Golden Girls reunion like never before, but we know that loss is real, and not even just out in the grand scheme, but we know specific people that have lost spouses, parents, children. And so I truly say to you that I am grateful to see 2022. I am grateful to see you all in 2022. And I get what Paul was saying is, man, I want to go and be with Jesus, but I also feel pulled to be here with you, right? I totally understand that. But of all the things I'm grateful for, I feel I'm most grateful for our constant and consistent God. And one of the things that I'm really excited about focusing on this year is really who and what God is, and how he is, and where he is, and when he is. At our elders retreat back in November, we did these different devotionals, and we did the ACTS method of prayer: adoration, confession, thanksgiving, supplication. And for our adoration devotional, the Dixons showed this video, and it was just so moving that we decided to base our 2020 theme actually on this video. So what we're about to do in a moment is we're going to show this video. It's a short video, but very, very impactful. And for those of you that are at home, to avoid our live stream getting muted for copyright issues, they are not going to be able to stream the video itself. But what the AV crew has done, thank you so much, is they put links in the Facebook page, on the YouTube channel, and they're going to put a link on the screen while the video is playing here so that you can click it and watch it. And when the video is over, you can resume with the live stream. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to make this available in our bulletin and things of that nature and all our communications that come out. But I want you, as we watch this video, especially even our teenagers, don't get on your phone. Don't just sort of tune out. I want you to really listen to the words, think about what they're saying, and really kind of dive in to this video. So we're going to watch this video, and then I'll come back up and share some very, very brief thoughts. Let's go ahead and we can dim the lights, and we'll watch this video. And it's just like, doesn't matter what happened in 2021. The things I may want to worry about or have fears over or concerns about, even death itself. What do I have to fear? He is. He is. When I think about, when people say, what are we going to do when we get to heaven? And that video was about 10 minutes long, but it didn't feel like that. And I'm just thinking, the amount of praise, the adoration and accolades that we will give to God. I mean, those were just words and voices from one church in English in Colorado. Imagine, as it says in Revelation, when there are people from every nation, every tribe, every tongue, every people gathered to worship the Lamb that was slain. This year, we're going to be talking about the attributes, the character, the qualities, the names, the idea of who he is. What I want you to do, I'm going to call a little audible here. I want you to take a couple minutes and just talk to somebody that's around you about, as they were going through those names, or what stood out to you? Like when you say he is and you're thinking about God, what is the first one that comes to mind? Maybe it's not one that they shared. Maybe it's something else. But just take a few minutes. And, I don't want to pass up this moment and just get into the notes. I want you to really think about it. Who is he to you? Take a few minutes. Okay. Now, I know you could probably spend, again, the rest of the afternoon. And I hope that's how your heart is. Your heart is full of all the things that you could say and share about God. And that's what we're going to do this year. So the same way last year, we picked different rewords each month. We're going to be talking every week about who he is. And I want you to be talking in your life groups, with your household, your spouse, your children, who he is to you. I talked to men and I said, when you thought about the video, you think about God, what is God? Who is God to you? She said, it makes me think of creation. Think about Genesis 1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. When you think about this world, when you think about the beauty, the diversity, the colors, it could have been grays. God didn't have to make it this way. He made it beautiful. He said, man, this is good. When you think about the fact that 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen, chemistry students out there, scientists have discovered that that's what makes up water. But God used that, and I want you to think about waterfalls, clouds. We don't like it when it rains, but we need the rain. God, the creator, was thinking, we're going to have snow cones next week. H2O plus some coloring. Right? When you think about the 3 pounds of flesh that sits inside your cranium, 3 to 4 pounds is the average weight of the human brain. But I was just talking to someone visiting. We were talking about Tolstoy and Dostoevsky, right? Think about the books that have been written. Think about the things that come out of this brain, the stories. Jamie was talking about stories, the stories that we are able to tell and create because of who he is. Think about the Lion King and the story of, the part where Mufasa tells Simba about the circle of life. We eat the antelope, but when we die, we nourish the grass that the antelope eat. He is thoughtful. He is intelligent. He is wise. The codependent relationship that we have with plants. Breathing out CO2, and they breathe out oxygen. He is. And not only that, we are. You're made in his image. That same creative spirit that God has, so do you. That kind nature, that loving nature, that thinking of others, that wanting to give to others, God has placed that in you. Because of who he is, we are. You can skip to slide 4. Again, sometimes you just audible, and it's not a day for notes. So it was fine that you went all right, as long as you did, Jamie, because I don't have that much to share today. Talked about he is the Word, right? The Word was with God. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. He was with God. He was with God in the beginning. And down in verse 14 it says, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. We observed his glory, the glory as the one and only Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. The remarkable thing, God is outside of time, space, and matter. God is outside of, what we can even think. He's so big. He's so much bigger than you can imagine, right? And yet he chose to enter the matrix. He chose to come down and dwell among us, to show us who he is. And the one thing I want you to take from this, there's so much you can, right, from that video. We're going to make it available. Watch it again and again. Is that who he is, Jesus showed us. And it's interesting, Byron alluded to it. You can go to the next slide. Every year, right, the year starts and we say, new year, new me. And most of the time that's not true, if we're being honest. Well, it's maybe true until about January 24th. But the beautiful thing, new year, same Jesus. Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And there's this quote I read in this book I've been going through this year. It says, our world tells us people don't change. And although that may be true, when people follow Jesus, Jesus changes them. When I think about my own life, I have no power. I've had no power to overcome my sins. But Jesus has changed me because of who he is. I was talking to my friend Kyle Spears. He just got appointed a teacher in the Omaha Church of Christ. And we were sitting around laughing. He has a blog or a YouTube channel called Truth, Trauma, Theology. And we were sitting around laughing. I said, can you imagine, Kyle, 10 years ago, that you would be a teacher and I would be an evangelist? And we're literally laughing our heads off at this idea, at the thought. But Jesus has changed us. I was having lunch with Tony this week. We were talking about this idea and talking about what do you feel like God has changed in your life? I realized today I am different because of Jesus. I had terrible relationships, particularly with men. I only had mostly relationships with women, and a lot of immorality and sexual impurity, and a slave to sin. Jesus has changed me. I am different. I think about how much of a coward in my nature I am and was. I was telling this story about being about 10 years old. I was playing video games at my friend's house, and he had his other friend over. We're playing, I don't know, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat or something, and I'm whooping this dude's butt. Like, I'm just going at it, and I'm so excited. I'm bouncing around, right, because I'm just fired up to be winning at this game. And I think he's getting a little more salty and a little more salty with every victory I get. And I'm just bouncing around. And I kind of bounce up against him because I'm just so ecstatic. And then he turns and just slaps me in the chest. He said something like, calm down. And I calmed down. But I was so afraid in that moment. I felt ashamed. I felt wrong. I was embarrassed, but I didn't do anything. I didn't stand up for myself at all. Fast forward to a few years ago. We've been studying the Bible with this one guy. We went to the movies. It was me and a couple of other, this guy by the name of Wayne, Lawley. They're pretty big guys, and I'm short. I'm 5'4". And we'd gone to see this movie, and we come out, and we'd gone to a matinee, so it's the middle of the day. And as we're walking out, this guy's on his cell phone right outside the movie theater, and parents are walking out with kids and all, and he's just like screaming obscenities into his cell phone. Like, I don't know who he's talking to, but he's just F-bombed this and that, and I mean, he's just screaming. And people are walking out with their kids. And I got about, 10 to 12 seconds to my car, and I was like, I just turned and I said, there are families here. Can you tone it down or be quiet with that kind of language? He says, let me call you back. He starts walking up to me, and I'm like, all right, here we go. I'm not about to, all right, here we go. Try Jesus, don't try me, right, But he walks up, and he says, I'm sorry, sir. You're right. Again, had I stayed on the path that I was, Jesus gave me that kind of courage because he is the Lion of Judah. Jesus has changed me. And not just have I gotten older or grown in age, I've grown in character because of who Jesus is. You can be different too. I don't know where you are today. I don't know what it is that you struggle with in life or the things you have going on, but because of who he is, you can be different. It truly can be a new year, new me. His mercies are new every morning. That's who he is. And so this year, we're going to be looking at a God that is so holy, sin can't dwell in his presence. But that doesn't mean he doesn't want to be near us. Because he's also a God that is so loving, he would send his son to die for us. He's a God so deep, he's unfathomable. He's a God so righteous, he can restore broken relationships. He's a God so intelligent, he does have the answer to your problems. He's a God that is so kind that he sends sun and rain on the righteous and the wicked. He's a God so into the details of our lives that he cared about wine at a wedding, so he certainly even cares about your teenager getting a driver's license. He cares about any and every financial problem you might have. He cares about the things that make your heart struggle. If as we watched that video, you thought about what the attributes of God, if there's something in there that actually scares you about God or unsettles you about God, maybe the idea that God is a father is foreign to you because you didn't have a great relationship or don't have a great relationship with your dad. Or maybe the idea that he is a rock just doesn't seem true to you because of how unstable your life has been. Or maybe the idea that he is protector is you don't feel quite sure about that because you feel very vulnerable and unprotected. I want you to dive into that this year. I want you to chase after that so you can learn who he is. One of the things I decided to do this year, I'm going to be going through this book. It's called Quest 52. And it's 15 minutes a day, year-long pursuit of Jesus. So we put out a Bible plan so you can read the Bible in the year if you want to do that. I'm going to be doing that and this, most likely. I'm definitely going to be doing this. But it's, I shared it with some of the staff. I think some of the teens are going to be doing it, possibly their parents, particularly for those of you that, if you come normally on a Wednesday when we don't have adult midweek and just drop your teens off and sit in your car, I'm going to be having discussion groups. Right? So we'd encourage you to put the link in the bulletin. We'd encourage you to buy it. But I want to know who Jesus is. I want to know the power of Christ and the power of his resurrection. Right? I want to know Jesus. What I want to leave you with, though, is we're going to look at a lot of things this year. That he is Elohim, God. He is Adonai, Lord. Right? He is Yahweh, Lord, El Shaddai, right? Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nissi. We're going to be looking at all these different things about God. But the question I want you to ponder is not just, because we're going to learn a lot about who God is, who he is. The question you need to think about today is, who are you going to be? Because absolutely, he deserves all the praise and adoration and worship. But Jesus came not just to be worshiped, but to be followed. So who are you going to be? What characteristics that you see in God that you don't see in self are you going to ask Jesus to change in your life this year? Will you love like Jesus? Will you serve like Jesus? Will you sacrifice like Jesus because of who he is and what he has done for you and his character and his love and his grace and kindness for you? Will you let him change your life? Who are you going to be? Who are we going to be this year as we explore who he is? Let's have a great week, a great start to the year. Thank you so much. We're going to have one final song, and let's just go after discovering who God is and who we can become because of who he is. Thank you. Amen.